Bitcoin is hailed by some as the future of commerce, appearing in big TV ads and getting buy-in from average Joes around the globe. But the place where Bitcoin has seen perhaps the widest adoption is not a big city, but actually a sleepy beach town in El Salvador. So how did cryptocurrency take root in a small village best known to surfers? Joining us to talk about Bitcoin Beach is Mary Carillo, sportscaster and former professional tennis player. Mary, thank you so much for joining us on Quicktake. I know that you went to Bitcoin Beach as part of your reporting. For those unfamiliar, just give us the backstory of how this beach came to be.
So, Madison, El Salvador, it's a poor country. I mean, a quarter of the people in El Salvador make about $5.50 a day. What it does have is amazing surfs. It's always been a terrific place to surf. And El Horizonte is the little town that's now known as Bitcoin Beach because a bunch of surfers got together. One of them in particular, a guy named Mike Peterson, truly embraced Bitcoin and started showing what it could do to this little town. Then President Bukele, the president of El Salvador, made it the legal tender of El Salvador very quickly. It was like 3 pages of documentation. And the fact is, he's a populist, Madison, and a lot of people like President Bukele, but about 80% of the country still doesn't like the idea that Bitcoin is the currency of the country because it fluctuates so much. And a lot of them don't understand it. A lot of people we went twice to El Salvador in the reporting of this story. There are people there, their electricity goes out, they don't have running water. If you don't have a smartphone, it's not easy to get Bitcoin. So it's a very interesting experiment going on in El Salvador. And there are plenty of other countries looking to see if this thing's really going to take.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you bring up kind of the volatility here and the access, because 70% of the population in El Salvador does not have stable internet access. And at the same time, Bitcoin has had a volatile couple of years. It's not necessarily the most stable currency. What do the surfer crypto evangelists have to say about that? What's their solution to those issues?
Well, they hope that with Bitcoin, every part of the country will improve. The infrastructure will improve. I'll tell you what, the roads in that country are awful. The place needs so much attention, but in an effort to really push Bitcoin, the president is going so big on it that he's taking money. He's using public money. He's using El Salvadoran money to push Bitcoin, to get the ATMs in place, to get all this stuff in place. Again, Mike Peterson and his buddies are saying, look, this is going to work in time. If you invest in Bitcoin, you will see that it will work. And President Bukele says, he's got a big ego. He calls himself an instrument of God. He truly thinks this will lift the poverty out of that country and it will become stable. And people will want to come in. In fact, El Zonte, which is now Bitcoin Beach, there's actually Bitcoin tourism in El Salvador now. People coming, and there are so many tax incentives that are being trying to get pushed through and offered now to Bitcoiners, millionaires, billionaires to grow it there as well. It's an interesting place.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We're looking at the images of folks who are, working in gas stations across the city and accepting Bitcoin and crypto. What did the locals tell you about their feelings about the wider adoption of cryptocurrency in El Salvador?
In El Zonte, it's been around now for a while.
Sure.
And in that little surf town, people are used to it. It's everywhere. And it's been there for a while. There are plenty of people in El Zonte who buy in. And what happens is and there are so many people in the country that can't get to banks, don't even have bank accounts. And remittances are a big part of the GDP of El Salvador. A quarter of their GDP is money coming from places like the United States into there. They're claiming that it's much easier. It comes right on their phone. They don't have to take a bus 3 hours into town to get their remittances. But then there are people who, again, either they don't get it or they can't get it, or they don't have the Bitcoin literacy to truly understand it. So it's an emotional it's an emotional time, I think, in El Salvador. It's polarizing, to say the least.
Sure. And when you spoke with surfers like Mike Peterson, what was their kind of pitch? What would they say to locals to get them sold on cryptocurrency? I mean, even in, the U.S. and the finance community, a lot of folks who've been in the business world for decades are very anti-crypto adoption. So what did that conversation look like between Mike and locals?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to invest in Bitcoin,
Mm.
but as a daily transactional use, as legal tender, that's something else. And again, the people who believe in Bitcoin in El Salvador, like Mike Peterson, but he incentivized the people of this little surf town. He put $30 into their Bitcoin wallet and said, use it around here. The guy you buy a drink from, the town, use it and see how easily it can work.
Mm.
And so that kind of started, and he used a lot of young surfers, that were more tech oriented to show the townsfolk, like, oh no, this is very transactional, and this happens easily and quickly. So that's the pitch: is look, this is the future, you
Yeah.
know. And if you look at President Bukele, he looks like one of those like Silicon Valley techie hipsters. That's how he comes over. Like, this is the future. When he had been the mayor of San Salvador, he pushed the whole idea of new ideas. He said that today we breathe different air. So that's his whole thing. Like, let's catch up with the world. Let's go past what everyone else is doing.
Right.
So they really think this is a revolution, an important monetary revolution.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story, Mary, and such
It
a
is.
kind of microcosm of the importance of crypto and the impact it stands to have. Where can folks
Exactly.
watch? Where can folks watch your reporting more broadly, and where can people go to see the incredible Bitcoin Beach story?
It's a cool story, Madison. It's on this month's Real Sports with Brian Gumbel on HBO. It aired for the first time last night, and it will run throughout the month. And I learned a lot. I got to say, it was very interesting. It's an interesting country, and
Yeah.
it's a physically beautiful country. You want a place like that. It's had a lot of corrupt politicians, leaders in the past. If you spend time in El Salvador, which I was able to do a couple of times, you're cheering for this country. You're rooting for it. You want this to happen. I still think for me, someone like me, very conservative, I think it's the International Monetary Fund isn't for it. The World Bank thinks there are real transparency issues because there are anonymous transactions. I would love to see it work, but I have my questions.